Hello, everyone, and welcome to King Me Revs Hype Podcast. I am your host, as always, the Rev Dude, live here in Worcester, Massachusetts at the Rude Awakening Kava Bar. Just to my right is Gunner Moody, one half of the Atlantic Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Gunner, or I should say Dylan, thank you for being here today.
How's it going, Chris?
Great to have you.
Great to be here.
So here, essentially, when we are talking about mental health through the lens of our guest. Gunner Moody is, of course, an independent professional wrestler. So today we will be talking about how is it being in the mental health game when it comes to professional wrestling. Simple enough? Let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. My first question genuinely is here. Is there a professional wrestler from any time, past, present, that influenced you, that you've seen their struggles? For instance, there have been plenty of people with substance abuse issues, especially in the professional wrestling or just in sports or entertainment in general. Is there a person that you've seen struggle and regain their balance, and you look up to them for that?
Wow, you hitting me with the first one off the bat. All right.
Go for the goal, baby.
Like you said, there are so many professional wrestlers throughout the entire history of pro wrestling that have done God knows what kind of struggle, whether it's alcohol, drugs, depression, whatever it may be. Man, I would have to look at Kurt Angle. I know the whole joke with Perk Angle and all that is there, but for Kurt specifically, do what he has done with a broken freaking neck and be so dependent at one point for medication and pills and all that.
Right.
And the fact that now, he's got his physical ailments, he's got his issues, but the fact that he's come out so much better, healthier, mentally healthier, man, I can't help but give him praise and applaud him for his strength for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree, right? For anybody who doesn't necessarily know who Kurt Angle is, Olympic gold medalist, 1996. We're talking about a multiple-time world champion, whether it's TNA or WWE. There's nothing this man hasn't done, right? He's in multiple Hall of Fames all across professional wrestling and Greco-Roman style wrestling. And I've actually had the pleasure of meeting the man. He is a wonderful human being. He genuinely cares about his fans. And I couldn't agree with you more. I've seen him on so many podcasts from other places talking about his struggles, whether he was throwing in those 100 Percocets a day.
Something like that, and then downing a bottle of vodka, I think it was.
It was a very, as someone like myself who has never actually fortunately have not had the substance abuse issues that he was struggling with. And I find myself to be very lucky to say that, right? That I couldn't help but see the pride in his eyes when he talked about it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I went through this issue at the same time. He wasn't working a regular 9-to-5, right? He was literally the king of the mountain of TNA, right? Pun intended there, because he was walking around with like 7 titles or 5 titles at once.
Something like that, yeah.
He had the tag, and they almost wanted to give him the women's championship, which would have been insane. He refused for very many reasons. But
thank God for that.
Yeah, that would have been strange. But he had a IWGP title, the King of the Mountain title, the X Division title, the tag titles, the world title, the TNA world title. So to see him struggle through all that stuff and be able to get up at the end of the day and make a better life for himself, where so many may actually fall down and not get back up, I definitely agree with you on that one. When it comes to, like let's say today, right? You had classes today?
Yeah, I just left a seminar at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. So we're a little sore. If you see me shuffling around, guys, it's just because my back's a little sore.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I've seen you work various shows as ring crew, right? Security guard. Um, and then I've seen you wrestle for Atlantic Pro Wrestling, of course, on several occasions, right? So, what I would say is there maybe a different level of stress going from classes to ring crew to performing? Or do you feel that there's just an overall stress for all three of those things?
I would say there's definitely a bit of a difference between the stress level. The high stress situations would be training, which is where you got to go balls to the wall. You want to put the best effort forward. So if you were somebody newer than I am who aren't on shows and they want to get to shows, you really got to stress yourself to get to that point.
Right, of
As
course.
far and of course, shows are high stress level situations because 9 times out of 10, you don't know who you're working with. You don't know what the outcome of the match may be. It could literally be anything by the time you get to that. I've had so many shows where I don't know who I'm working with until day of, which is typical.
Right,
That's typical
right.
wrestling. Um, Ring crew, to be quite honest with you, there's not a whole lot of stress when it comes to that. When you're yeah, okay. There's stress to it. It just depends. It varies from show to show. Something like chaotic can vary on the stress level. APW, no stress at all, man. We can go in there, bang out that setup, that ring, no issues whatsoever. When it's like chaotic, it just if it's the big shows like you were at the 25th
25th anniversary.
anniversary show,
Great
that
show.
that stage, bro, that stage was something else to take apart and I'm not a tech guy, so I'm like, ugh. So that was stressful for me. But all in all, yeah, I would say the high stress situations would be actually training and being on the show. But at the same time, being on the show, you get to have fun, man. We can go in there and do our thing, get crowds going. That's the fun part. Once you're in that ring, stress kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, there's so many factors in life, and I've said this to a few people, like being someone who went to film school, right? There is no there is no word in the English language, quite frankly, that I could use to describe the feeling I get behind a camera, right? When I'm filming something, when I am knowing that, hey, I'm gonna eventually be taking this film, essentially, bringing it into an editing room and picking it apart, right? Going into going into just film in general. Do you have something similar? Do you feel that something similar in wrestling? Like when you get in that ring and you are no longer Dylan, you are Gunner Moody, right? Does that wash away any of that stress?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It doesn't matter. It could be at a show or in training. As like I said earlier, it can be a high stress situation when you're training
Of
because
course.
you're getting your critiques and getting sometimes your coach is yelling at you because you did something wrong or it's all constructive, but you're also kind of going, shit, my coach is yelling at me.
Right.
But yeah, no, dude. Once I'm doing my thing, it doesn't matter what kind of day I've had. That ring is therapy for a lot of guys. I hear that not just for myself. I hear that from a litany of other guys that I've had the pleasure of sharing a locker room with. Once you step through those ropes, man, anything on the outside doesn't really matter. It's all
Right.
about how can we entertain guys like yourself, your daughter, whoever it may be sitting on the other side of the barricade or the other side of those ropes.
To put it in the context, it's lovely to hear that because you know some people maybe they take illicit substances to get that type of feeling, right? I feel like that type of euphoria is almost like, for some people it could be considered maybe biblical or a religious experience, right? When I go to the movie theater and I watch a movie, I feel the same way I used to feel when I go to church,
Mm.
you know. And you kind of touched on that a little bit, right? Um, and the other thing that you touched on that I wanted to say was training. A lot of people, being someone who is a certified soldier, right? I went through basic training, AIT. I was in the United States Army, right?
God bless you, man. God bless you.
So, I've had 1.5 million drill sergeants yelling in my face. However, it was always constructive criticism, right? Even if they threw in a couple of extra syllables or colorful words to spice it up a little bit, it was certainly constructive criticism. So my question now is, when it comes to coaches in general, right? Have there been any who were non-constructive? Any ones that just essentially gave up on you and were like, I'm not mentoring this guy. I'm not gonna. You don't have to name names, of course, but do you feel like you've been cared of with your mental health while being coached?
Honestly, I haven't had a bad coach in my time training. Um, doesn't matter if it's here nor there. I've never had a bad experience with coaches. As far as the mental health aspect, I can't really say yes or no on that because it all depends on how much of a relationship you have with your coach. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Like I'm really tight with a lot of the coaches at Nepwa. I'm really tight with my coaches, and they do genuinely care about your well-being and both physically and mentally. But yeah, man, I can't really say I've had a negative experience with coaching in any aspect, whether it's, actually going through the training process or, hey man, I got to sit out today because my head's not in the game. And it's always cool.
Supportive.
It's always been, that's cool. You're here. You're in a place that is going to help you regardless of if you're in the ring or not. Because the best thing about training is you eventually build that support system. You got to have a support system, whether it's this big family aspect or it's a couple of friends. Everybody needs a support system.
See, and that's a great cue for you to say. So, one thing that I hear from a lot of people over and over again is, well, I was born alone and I'm going to die alone, right? Being someone that has worked adjacently with the mental health profession, I've heard that several times. And I feel like one of the great things that I'm trying to get out there with this podcast, right, is that when people say that, they are grossly negligent in understanding this world, right?
Right.
Because number one, unless you were created completely in a test tube, you were not born alone, okay? Your mother had you in her womb, and depending on the circumstances, either just your mother or a room full of doctors and nurses were there when you were born.
Right.
So to say you were born alone is completely insanity, right?
I agree.
So I feel like those are the kind of social stigmas that I'm trying to destroy with this podcast and with the support groups. So it's wonderful you say that. As a quick segue, support groups coming soon, all right? Support groups coming soon. So it's just hilarious. I tell people all the time, like, you say you're a self-made man, but did you build your house? Did you build your car? Did you build that company that pays your rent? Probably not, right? So it's a bit of an odd conversation to have. But when you cut past the BS of life, you realize that people who really think that aren't really paying attention, to be honest with you.
Facts, man. Facts. I agree to that.
So with that being said, right, you're talking about support groups. You're talking about the mental health aspect. And obviously I just mentioned that. We, as human beings, never do anything alone, right? For you, is there someone out there, once again, don't have to name names or whatever, that you feel looks up to you and that you maybe mentored them? Or I've seen your interaction with fans, and I don't want to name names of the fans, but those kids adore you. And they come up to you, and I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about at this point. But they come up to you and they say so many nice things. They talk about you while we're waiting in line outside for a half an hour, okay? Right? Some people who are, not just some people who are in the room maybe listening, with our live studio audience, but there are some other children as well, right? that say wonderful things about you as a human being. So once again, with that being said, those kids, when you see it on their face, how do you feel? How does that make you feel, man to man?
Man, there's not a feeling like it, to be quite honest with you. To hear, hear kids say that, man, I want to be like you when I grow up. You're my favorite. You're this, you're that. I'm a small town boy from Gardner, Mass. Bullied in school. I didn't think I would amount to literally anything, to be honest with you. Honestly, it's amazing that I'm sitting here today. But when I got kids, man, when I got kids coming to my merch table and just want to talk,
Right.
just want to talk. They might buy a T-shirt, they might buy my hat, they might buy a koozie or a sticker, whatever it may be.
Right.
Like, and they just want to have a chat and just be like, "Yo, we look forward to seeing you every show. We want to be there to see you succeed. We want to do this. We want to do that." I remember the first time I had a fan made me a little trading card at Lucky Pro Wrestling. Shout out to them. Made me this trading card, and it was just like, oh my god, that's the awesomest thing that I could
Right.
ever have
I
gotten.
mean, come on.
The
How can you
idea
go
that the idea that somebody took the time to make that trading card, which, by the way, to that fan, if you're watching this, it's hanging proudly in my bedroom, so it's out there. But yeah, man, there's nothing like it when you have a group of kids coming up to you and just showing the love that you want to show to them. You know what I mean?
Of course, of course. Yeah, I mean it's rejuvenating, right? You gotta
Truly.
just bask in a little bit. It's not, and it's so many people misconstrue or they have this misconception that it's egotistical, and it's human, right? One of the biggest things that I'm trying to drive home with this entire podcast and everything else that I do is that we really need to stop demonizing emotions. We are human beings. Whether you like it or not, we all get mad. We all get sad. We all get upset. We all get worried. We all get anxious. That's okay. All right? You're allowed to feel these emotions, to be that person, to be in those moments, right? And to demonize someone because they feel angry or upset is just detrimental both to that relationship you have with that person, but also to that person's mental health, right? I do believe that we just have a large lack of, not to get political, empathy and sympathy in this country and this world at this particular point. Um, and to hear what you're saying, some people might say, oh, well, listen to that guy. He's just relishing in the idea that these kids think he's so cool and he thinks he's such a big cheese. And I just want to point out to anybody who thinks that when they watch this, that that's not what we do here,
No.
right? What 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 I do, and the fact that this man was kind enough to take his time to come here and to do this with me, that no one truly understands that to be an egotistical thing. Do you agree with me?
I would certainly hope that people agree with that, because I'm not here to float my ego. I'm not here to make myself all that in a bag of chips. But not even just kids. When you got adults, grown men or women coming up to you and saying you are inspiring them, bro, makes me kind of want to go backstage and bawl my eyes out a little bit when I hear stuff
Right.
like that. I'm not even kidding.
Right.
Like, God bless you guys. That's all I can say. Is anybody that comes up to me and says stuff like that, please, I want to shake your hand. I want to give you a hug, like, straight up.
100%. No, I have a lot of respect for that, and I genuinely believe that life is life is life, right?
Life is hard, man.
Life is genuinely, distinctly difficult, and there is no reason to make it any harder than it already is on each other, right? It's not my philosophy. Obviously, if you know need to defend yourself or whatever, that's something else. But I don't take bread, or I don't take water, or whatever the proper nomenclature for that is. I don't take pleasure in being the one that says I'm going to make this particular person's life harder just because I feel a certain way. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's my emotional processing, right? So I guess with that being said, my question to you is, do you feel at this particular time in your life you were able to process the emotions of being a professional wrestler?
A part of me wants to say yes, but at the same time, no, dude. It's being a pro wrestler is genuinely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Right.
Um, just to give a little backstory on myself, I was not an athletic kid. I wasn't a sports kid. Could care less about playing football. Could care less about running a mile in gym class. You know what I mean? This is the most physically active I've ever been in my life, and it's God bless it because it's gotten me in the best shape I've ever been in. But mentally and physically, it's a toll, man. It can be a real toll, and it ain't gonna stop me. Nothing's ever gonna stop
Right.
you once you know what you want to do. You want to succeed. You want to do it. You're gonna do that. You're gonna push yourself to do it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing through while trying to maintain both my physical and mental health, but also trying to maintain my success in professional wrestling.
Of course.
Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, no, it makes total sense, right? The idea that you see, and once again, I appreciate your candor. I appreciate you being honest, right? Because we're not here for ego. We're here for to be. I could tell everybody all day my own crazy nonsense going on in my brain, right? But the idea is that you were able to just speak candidly and say the truth, right? And sometimes, hey, life can be a little bit difficult. When life is a little bit difficult, what do you do to get that mood back? What is your go to?
So, as you can probably tell by the way I'm dressed and just the way Gunner is in general, I hunt. So I like to go out during the fall, winter season, go out there, sit in the woods for an ungodly amount of hours hoping to get a deer. Um, also love to fish. I talked to your daughter earlier. You know, I listen to a lot of music. I'm a big movie guy, so I like to unwind with a movie, you know, whatever it may be, whether it's Fast and the Furious or 21 Jump Street, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Um, those are a lot of ways that help me unwind and feel a sense of normalcy again.
Right, right,
But also at the same time, when I'm in that ring, like I mentioned earlier, I could be having the worst day in the history of mankind. Once I'm in there, you know, throwing somebody around or getting thrown around, dude, by the time I'm done with class, I'm right as rain again.
and see that's it's great to hear that you have kind of that multitude of things, right? One thing I try to explain to people is to have hobbies and to diversify, because with all due respect to anyone, right, having only one crutch after a while can be, I wouldn't say detrimental, but obsessive,
Mm.
right? It almost feels obsessive to the outside human being, even if you don't perceive it that way. Because as my Boy Scout master said, as my drill sergeant said, and as many other people have told me in my life, perception is reality. That's right. And the last thing you want is to have the thing you love the most become a barrier between yourself and the world around you, right? So, as a movie guy myself, I'm curious. Do you have like a go-to movie?
Well, I mentioned it, Fast and Furious. As convoluted as that series has gotten in the last what
Like 20 years,
20
really?
years, something like that. Especially
Yeah.
since Fast Five, where we've gone to
Just
outer space, we've gone to
right,
this, we've
right,
gone to that. Those movies have had me since I was a kid, man.
right,
You know, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel is one of my all-time favorites, characters and actors. Um, the original movie, I've seen it so many times where I'm at the point where if you have it playing, I probably could finish the whole series, the whole show with their lines and all that. So that's probably one of them. There's a couple of horror movies that I like to go to, like the Conjuring series, just to get a little scare, little if you will.
right.
As I make your daughter crack up with that.
Chuckle over there. Hey, Chuckles.
How you doing, JJ? You doing all right? That's for the highlight reel, y'all.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of movies, but those are probably like definitely the go-to would be Fast and the Furious. It's
It definitely went in a completely wacky, right? The sense of the word. Just the suspension of disbelief extrapolated. Because at first it was just like basically a heist movie with a couple of guys stealing stuff. Right?
First, like what 4 movies was
Right.
literally all about street racing with a little bit of high speed heisting and all that.
Right.
And
so
now we're, like I said, we're going to outer space.
Now we're going.
We're doing all this CIA special agent 007 crap. It's like, all right, we kind of jumped the shark a little bit, but I'm still here for it. Let's go. We got hot cars and hot women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We also got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Roman Reigns. So
yeah, and the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. That's true.
That was cool. OTC baby. Woo, there we go.
We acknowledge you, Tribal Chief.
Right. No, I always like to bring in those particular topics because maybe not everyone on earth could understand what it means to be a professional wrestler. I mean, this is the biggest thing I tell most other people who are not wrestling fans is the average red-blooded American male has thrown a football, tossed a pigskin, right? They've probably played some kind of softball, baseball, maybe even just t-ball, whatever it is. You probably tried some street hockey at least. You've probably been rollerblading, roller skating, whatever. But, I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've been watching wrestling since I was born, thanks to my father. Thanks, Dad. But I have yet to actually get in a ring, right? Most people don't understand the psychology of it, right? So my question to you is, what was it like the first time getting in that ring?
Felt almost home, in a way, you know?
Like the missing piece?
Kinda, yeah. It felt right to be there. I'm not saying, it's come easy to me, it's come natural to me. By far, that's not the case. But when I first stepped through those ropes and took my first active bump as a wrestler or trainee, it just felt right, dude. It felt right. Hitting the ropes for the first time and then getting a massive bruise on your hip. Oh, that was a fun night when I had to do that, but there's nothing like it did. It felt right.
It felt home.
It felt just right. It felt like it was somewhere I needed to be, and it is. I'm happy being in professional wrestling. As stressful as it may be being in this business, dude, I want to change it for the world. Would not change this for the world.
100%. And I would certainly say that being able to be a fan, going to, let's say, Chaotic, we just got tickets to go to Rad Pro, right? We've gone to so many shows, and not to throw shade at any other places, but I definitely felt like a really great sense talking to, like, let's say somebody like Anthony Green, right? Just as a fan, right? So as a fan, my first, and I've told him the story, and I'll tell you the story one more time. My first time meeting Anthony Green, I was actually at a Ring of Honor show in Lowell, Massachusetts, at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. And the show was over, and I walked outside, and and just standing there was Retro AG. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second. He's the champion right now. He's the current champion of the promotion, and he's holding flyers, right? And he's like, come to my show, come to my show. And I was almost starstruck because I was just like, AG? What have I? Shouldn't you be inside? Shouldn't you be inside for a second there? And with that being said, right, I always appreciated the drill sergeants that I had because they never asked me to do something they wouldn't have done themselves. So my question to you when it comes to, training in general, right? And with using this example of how, some people would think, oh, he's the champion of the company. Why is he out here passing out flyers? No, he's the example for the rest of the boys in the locker room, right? I mean, obviously, as I stated, I'm not the guy in the locker room, so I'm not trying to pretend like that at all. But what I'm saying is, I gained so much respect for Anthony Green as a human being, knowing that he was a leader in that locker room, right? So my question for you is, do you have any positive experiences with leaders in the locker room? And do you feel like that, not having to name names, of course, as always, but has there been an experience that maybe kept you going, or maybe that keeps you going, or maybe that hey, that if I'm having a really rough day, I can go to this guy, girl, whatever, they, them, whatever, and they'd be like, hey, bro, I got you.
There has been so many positive experiences I've had sitting in a locker room, bro. I don't even think I can begin to start telling you the stories that I can tell you.
Of course. I hope so.
And I'm going to give a shout out to AG because he's definitely one of them that if I needed some advice, I would go to him. I've had the pleasure of knowing AG since 2019, back when he was running shows in Gardner, Mass. By the way, AG, that's a little plug for you to get back into that. I'm kidding. But like I said, I've had the pleasure of knowing AG for a while, and he's definitely somebody that is going to push to see you succeed. He's definitely somebody that, I'm sure like your drill sergeants, he's hard, but he's fair. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's gonna be up your ass. He's gonna be, let's go. We gotta do this. I know you can do better, but it's always in the sense of, I know you can do this. I know you can get there.
Yeah.
Get there.
Right. No, mate. And it's great you said that, because so when I was, like I said, when I was 17, I joined the Army, and I went off to Fort Knox, Kentucky. Shout out to Drill Sergeant Greenlee, right? And my drill sergeant said to me so many times that if you fail, it's because I failed to give you the tools to be successful. And I took that completely to heart. And anyone who's worked with me professionally over the last, whatever it's been now, 22 years, can completely understand when I say this, right? That I've brought that kind of motto to my own professional life. In fact, literally when I train somebody first time, I tell them the exact same thing. I say, hey, listen, if you fail, it's because I failed to give you the tools to succeed. And I don't like being a failure. So I'm going to get you over that hump, come hell or high water, whatever I have to do to get you there, right? So would you also say that AG is one of those guys for you?
AG is one of those guys. Shout out to also other teachers at Nepois, like Chase Delamonte, Scott Guerin. They're very, I would say, he's going to kill me for saying this, but I would say Chase is probably more the hard ass one.
Yeah.
Where there is a difference. There's Chase outside the business, which is a goddamn sweetheart of a man, and I love him to death. And then there's Chase that's in the business, or the trainer Chase. And again, an ass chewing from Chase Delamonte. Let me tell you something, you're butt puckers.
Yeah.
Love you, Chase. Scott, love Scott to death. He will push you to do things that you never thought you could do. If I could give like a little dichotomy of how it is, Chase is very, they all are in this sense, but Chase is very much the in-ring psychology, how to work a spot, how to do this kind of guy. Scott's more of the tweaking, if you will, but he's also going to show you some things that, like, you're going to see him do it and you're going to go, the hell, why did I think of that? Because it's something stupid simple. And God bless them. They've done this for, I don't know how long. They've been at it since forever. Same with AG. AG, I think, is 15 years in, something like that. I could be wrong. But you got guys like that that know their shit, that know what they're doing. And it's amazing to be under their learning tree. Dijak, too, because Dijak is also a trainer at Nepois. If you can get information from Dijak, a guy that's been in WWE,
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with that information.
right?
Um, I know. I mean, Dijak was great meeting him at the last chaotic show. I want to say it was the last chaotic show at this point. I could be completely wrong. I'm getting the thumbs up from my producer that it was the last chaotic show. So, JJ King over there was has her gimmick, her little uh, gecko yet to be named, and essentially he was super excited to grab the gecko. He actually handed her the MLW title that he had. He was holding that belt, and he's like, "Quick, take this. I want to hold the gecko." And I was just like, it was a surreal experience for me as a wrestling fan. Just like I watched this guy on TV 1,000 times, and now he's like fighting my daughter for a gecko. She's like, "Sure, take it, bro." And he's like, "Sweet, can't wait for this picture. Can't wait for this picture." Right? Absolutely. Have you had any of those kind of surreal experiences?
Oh, so many, dude. Going back to the locker room question, I had the esteemed pleasure and honor to tag with Chris Harris, one half of America's Most Wanted. It was a
Oh wow.
six-man tag match with him, myself, and forgive me, his name's escaping me at the moment. But we had a six-man against Scotty Slade and the Los Toscisco boys from Cap. Dude, backstage, he could not have been the coolest ever. Any question I wanted to ask him, he answered. He gave me so much awesome advice. And in my head, I'm going, dude, I was watching this guy on TV when I was 13, 14 years old.
Right.
And now I'm not only tagging with him, but I'm having a conversation with him.
Right.
What? Like that's a moment. Another one would be when I shared the locker room with the franchise Shane Douglas, one of my very early shows I was on. And shout out to Shane because, dude, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the fact that I was the only young guy that went up to him and asked for advice, but he had all the time in the world for me. And again, in my mind, I'm going, this is NWA champion Shane Douglas. This is list his accolades.
Yeah, we could be here all day.
We could be here all day with Shane
Could
Douglas.
be here all night.
But the fact that he was like, come on, kid, I got you. And just talk to me. Yeah, man, there's been so many of those moments where it's like, is this really happening right now? What has my life come to at this point? You know what I mean?
So what you said really segues into another issue that I feel like a lot of men struggle with is imposter syndrome, right? The idea that you're in this room with these professionals. I mean, if I was just hanging out with Shane Douglas, I'd probably lose my mind, to be honest. But like, so what was ECW like, right? Um, do you ever feel that yourself?
I did very early on in my career, and that kind of sounds egotistical, but now that I've been doing this now, training for over 3 years. I've been live now. December will be my second year anniversary. So I've been at this long enough, and I've also been around wrestling long enough. Prior to training, I was helping out with the guys at Lucky Pro, just cleaning up, taking the ring out, doing ring crew. So I was able to be around guys like AG, guys like Gall, who is now on WWE Evolve, and so many others. I would definitely say very early on, I was getting in moments like that where it was like, what am I doing here? Why am I sitting next to Shane Douglas? Why am I having a conversation with Chris Harris? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? How did I get here?
Right.
Now that I've been at it longer and I've been able to do even more stuff. I don't want to say it feels right, but it feels right. Where it's like I'm more comfortable now. I don't have that feeling of why am I here? What am I doing?
Right. Yeah. No. And it's a great point. I I have felt it in my life as well, especially like I get a new role, and then you grow into that role, you gain more confidence, And that would just be, from me at least, sounds like for you as well, that the best way to combat imposter syndrome is time. You know, building more within yourself so that you can feel like you belong there, right?
I totally agree with that. The old verbiage is time heals all wounds. Well, time also makes you feel better about yourself.
Right.
Once you get enough situations where the fandom, I'm going to use this for all my instances, once the fandom part goes away, you're kind of just like, oh shit, hey man, how you doing? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
You're kind of just like, oh man, this is insert any big name in professional wrestling. Oh, it's, oh my God, it's Rhea Ripley. Let's just use her. Oh my God, it's Rhea Ripley. And then after you see her maybe another time, it's like, oh, hey, it's Rhea, or whatever her name is for real. That doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some nerds that are going to show up in the chat out of nowhere just to be like, you didn't even say her real name. It's like, take it easy, guys.
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
Take it
Respect,
easy,
yo.
It's called respect. So, with that being talked about with fans, do you think in any way, shape, or form that any fans that you see in person or online truly seem to grasp what it's like being a professional wrestler?
No, not by any means. I was guilty of it when I was just a fan. You think you've read the books, you listen to the podcast, you've seen hours of wrestling. You think you know it all. You really don't. It's not until you're actively a part of professional wrestling that you start to realize, like, oh, everything that I ever would have thought in professional wrestling was wrong. All this, yeah, you can probably predict storylines and all that as a fan, but do you understand why we really got there? You know what I mean?
Right, the psychology of it. And
Yeah.
I think that's great with really any, I mean, it happens worse with sports, right? You get those armchair quarterbacks with people who probably have never picked up a football in their life yelling about how so and so didn't get the touchdown and they would have done it. I see it even as a wrestling fan. I see that almost toxicity in the room, and I feel like it's almost embarrassing, to be honest with you. I'm saying that as me, myself, and I. It's embarrassing because I am a wrestling fan and I'm trying to tell other people this is a valid thing they should watch. But then when they go out and see what fans say to each other, it's nothing but like scathing comments and crazy rants about fantasy booking. Like, I have all the respect in the world with anybody and their opinion. No problem, man. Have your opinions. But at the same time, do you really think Triple H is going to read your YouTube comment and then change the booking because of that? Because if you do, I hate to tell you, you will probably never see that booking comment. So
Probably not.
if there was one thing about like mental health in general that you could get that magic wand out and just change it about professional wrestling in its entirety, right? What would it be for you? Like what do you think could create a larger positive experience?
Honestly, I wish I had an answer for that. I really can't give you an answer for that.
Valid.
Um,
It's a tough question.
it's a very tough question,
It's a
and
tough question.
I'm struggling to give an answer to that one. If it was more towards just in general, specifically with men's mental health, it doesn't get talked about enough.
Right.
It's kind of swept under the rug, unfortunately. It needs to be brought up more. There are thousands and thousands, millions of men that are struggling to go day by day, to be able
Right.
to wake up in the morning with a smile on their face, get out of bed and go to work and repeat the process all over again. That's what our society has been. It's get up, go to work, and go to bed, do it all over again. We don't have the time anymore to go take vacations. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the studies. People are taking sleep vacations right now
Yeah,
where they're using their sick time or their vacation time to go to this extravagant location, let's say Greece or whatever, and all they're doing is sleeping in their hotel rooms.
yeah. I mean, the exhaustion of life has certainly met a peak, and like it's wonderful you say that because you know you're like this is a tough question, but honestly, here at the Children of the All Father and this the whole idea of this podcast is to make those certain things that we don't talk about in society. Do we once again something we can talk about? Take the taboo away from it. Why is it that I can't just call up a friend and be like, "Hey man, I was really struggling with this." And for me personally, being someone who has lost several members of my family to substance abuse and other such illnesses, to be quite frank with you, I told myself that I needed to make a change in the world around me. I might never make a change of the entire world. There might be 7 people that ever see my podcast or listen to what I ever have to say. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that because I would rather affect the life of 1 or 7 people than no one at all. So I guess to beautifully wrap up what you're saying and segue into it, right? If you are out there struggling, genuinely struggling, reach out to me, right? Services are coming soon. I'll keep you on the short list. But whether you have to come down here to the Kava Bar, to the other, we have another location in beautiful Nashua, New Hampshire. If you just need to hang out at my house, go for a hike. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. I don't care what your political party is. I don't care what label you use to identify yourself as. At the end of the day, we are all human beings,
Yes, and
right?
that's just a segue on that. I feel like that's part of the problem is we're so divided as mankind that we can't just be there for one another anymore.
Agreed. I certainly agree with you on that. I couldn't I could talk about that for 5 hours to be quite frank with you. And it's a very distinct passion of mine, and it's something that I genuinely want to fix in the world around me. If I can't fix everybody in the world, that's okay, but I'm going to go out trying. 80% of the people who self delete this year are men. You might think that no one cares. I am here today to tell you that I care. You don't have someone, you have me. That is not a gimmick. That is not a promotion. This is not someone pretending to be something they're not, right? I'm not an actor. I'm an adult. I'm a man. Those are the only 2 labels I'm going to use today. Everything else doesn't matter, quite frankly. Doesn't matter, all right? I'm a human being, and if you, regardless of your gender or identity or labels, need someone, call the Rev Dude. Call me, Christopher Evans. That's my name, Christopher Evans. You might search my name and find Captain America, so you're going to take a little while to find me. So, quite frankly, the Rev Dude's better. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here today and being candid and open, helping me crack this nut because it is a tough one to crack, man. Like genuinely, there's so many. You'd be like, it is. I mean, it's not too shocking, but there is just a levy of people that I've brought this up to, and they wanted to talk about it, but never on camera. And I obviously everybody, I got to respect you, right? Everybody struggles on their own, but you were the first person that when I said, "Hey, man, I really want to work on this," you were the first person to say, "I'm in."
$100%.
Whenever you need me, I'm in. And I from here at King Me Productions, including JJ King over there, genuinely and wholeheartedly, with or without a camera focused on me right now, with a little kid mimicking, um, we both genuinely respect and appreciate your time. So,
I deeply appreciate you having me. If I can, I want to reiterate what he just said. If you guys got want to reach out to somebody, reach out to me as well. My DMs are always open. I've had fans reach out to me before, not for instances like this, but I've chatted with fans before. If you guys want to talk, text me. Text me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, whatever. My DMs are always open. We'll figure something out and we'll talk. You know what I mean? We'll talk. That's what specifically we as men need to do is talk more.
I
Because
agree.
we were told how many times have you were told, oh, suck it up, get over it.
Million.
You're supposed to bury that. Burying can only get you so far.
Yeah. And
Can
normally
only
it just gets you to an early grave, to be honest with
it
you.
really does. Whether that's science has shown depression, all the anxiety, all that has an effect on you physically, not just mentally, physically. Can cause cancer. I've seen the studies that have done it. We gotta open up more, guys. We really, really do. Um, you can keep this if you want. If not, it's hard for me to believe that a woman can cry, boohoo, sob tears, and they get a dozen people around them.
Right.
But when a man does it, it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's distinctly why when I started a nonprofit, it was for men's mental health. And we let's be honest, we have nothing against women
No,
or
not at
any other
all.
gender that you want to identify as, right? I have nothing against you. However, it has been made very well clear that there are programs for women out there. And it's wonderful. We want them to remain. However, myself, I wanted to be maybe the first one in this general area, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe if there's other people out there and you see this and say, "Hey, I do this already." Awesome. Instant message me. Get a hold of me. Maybe you can show me a better way of doing it. But the social stigmas are there and they need to be destroyed everywhere. Everywhere in the world. There's no reason why two men can't have a conversation about how they feel and they should what? Feel bad for that? I told my friend I was feeling bad today, and that makes you less of a man?
No, it makes you
No.
more of a man.
All right?
Straight up, makes you more of a man. The fact that you're able to say what's wrong and not bottle that and not hold that down, it makes you more of a man to be able to go, hey man, I'm struggling right now.
100%. I couldn't agree more, right? You, as a man out there, you identify as a man, whatever, you are struggling and you feel like no one cares. We care. We want to help you. We want to be there. It doesn't matter if you're in Croatia and you somehow stumble upon this on YouTube at 4 a.m. Message me, email me. I have a website for that. No problem. We will at least have a conversation, even if I can't send you some services. Maybe I can send you a nice little thing in the snail mail as a get well soon. But I just wanted to make sure that we here at King Me Productions, Children of the All Father, thank you for being the first person to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to step up and have this conversation. And to our fans out there, there honestly may be some more. There's some genuine talks, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, as they say, but there should be some very exciting things coming very soon. So, um, with that being said, anything left that you want to give to them?
No, man, I think the last thing I could say is don't give up. Don't give up. It's cliche, as I said long ago in this. It's cliche to say never give up, never surrender, but it's genuinely how you can live your life and do it for the better. Actually, you know what? Here's another piece of advice, and this is something that I'm learning how to do. If you have people talking negatively about you, saying things that you know for a fact aren't true, brush it off, my man, because it's just noise. All it is. It's no different than the noise out of these walls. It's no different than the social media crap on there. Just if you got people talking, you're doing something right. Genuinely, you're doing something right because they're jealous of you and they're afraid of you because you are strong. So that's probably the best advice I could give anybody who watches this.
Awesome. Strong finish from one half of the Atlantic Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Gunner Moody, better known, Dylan.
Better known.
Dylan here. Once again, thank you so much for coming down and having a chat with us today.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you.
All right. And you guys, I'll see you on the next one.